title suggests. Hey everyone! So yeah, welcome to this little bag of misc here, which is yeah, it's just a random collection of tips, tricks, how-tos, what we have collected internally about mostly shell. So this thing that we live most of our days in, since this is a collection of best practices and how-tos and little tips and tricks, it would be absolutely awesome if you could all share your tricks. So if I'm showcasing something and you say, yeah, there's something that's even better than that, or I'm doing that differently, just interrupt me, so we can have some nice collection here and perhaps even grow that shared knowledge a little bit. So I will just probably switch off the camera so you can focus on the slides. Okay, let's get going. Yes, so let's start with shells. There was perhaps a little bit of redundancy later on with the Git stuff, but since that was kind of intricately connected to shell workflows, I thought that maybe at least I can share those slides and then we can see whether that is interesting or not. Okay, but first thing, shells. Quite a family tree here, just for reference, where this all comes from. Obviously, it's a Unix thing, at least the more powerful shells there. Today, I will be talking about Bash, Fish, and the Z shell. You can spot that here. In particular, Z shell is pretty far down on this family tree, comparatively new, at least in that context. Right, Bash, essential config. You clearly want some proper Git prompt. Otherwise, it's hard to work with anything of relevance. So clearly you want, yeah, if the tree is dirty, you want probably the branch displayed there. There's quite a science there. This is my my Bash prompt. And again, as you've seen a second ago, my main shell is no longer Bash. But that's something where you can start with. The other thing which I found clearly useful, because as I'm growing older, sometimes I misspell my directory names. So if you enable this shell option cd spell, you can mistype one or two characters and it would still find the directory. The other one that's kind of nice and productive is auto cd, which means you just type the directory name. And it would then, so let's mistype a little bit. And it would still find that. So I think I can mistype by one letter. And if I leave that out, oh yeah, I haven't got it enabled. Let me fix that. Well, that's a bummer. So maybe I've got hard disabled here. But a second ago I tested it and it works. The other thing is to have some search path for directories. If you have some, for example, this large directory with build trees, and you frequently cd between them, you want to put that in a search path. So you just type the name without the full tree, and then it gets you there. The other thing that for me is probably many years ago that was a real productivity improvement was the hist_append thing. So that makes history safe to use from multiple prompts. Otherwise, it would frequently be the case if you have like I do, you get like several tabs open here, and you have you've been running your session like for days or weeks, and then it would be completely random which, if you then shut down your machine or reboot, which of those history buffers would end up in the history file. So for the next time, sometimes it would be rather empty what you find there, or the most important, most productive bits would not be there. So well, history is usually quite long for me. And if you use the hist append, then bash would just append the local history to the history file instead of overwriting that. So that makes it safe to use from multiple prompts. Okay, some essential keyboard commands. This undo is really useful. Alt plus dot, this print last arguments from previous command. So that's kind of nice to see and have that completed. What I like is this Control X E for some more complex bits, so that I would get my Emacs editor where I'm slightly more productive to edit longer strings. For surprisingly, some people haven't seen it and still use this paste by middle mouse button, and under Linux is this Control Shift C and V for copy paste when you have something marked in the shell. This E and A, well, that's mostly standard Emacs level command lines for or shortcuts. That's probably not super, but having this kind of cheat sheet here, also this navigation by word, it's kind of makes life a bit easier and more productive. Right, so that was all that I have to say to bash. If you got something to add here or pointers, do put that perhaps in the chat, which I'm quickly looking at, but there's nothing here. So let's move on then to Z shell, which is actually my production shell these days. That's a descendant of this Born Corn K shell thing. So it's not far from bash. Actually, it's pretty old, since '92. It's backward compatible. And yeah, I've seen that much more often. Might be because OS X is shipping that as a default one. Also, Kali Linux has that enabled. There's some nice tutorials here that I don't think we need to go over in details. I will just kind of show you a little bit how that, what nice things you can do with the Z shell, and then if that is whetting your appetite. That's a little like changing shells is almost like changing an editor. Don't do that if you don't have the time to spend a bit of time learning and getting used to it. But yeah, to me, Z shell, it was clearly worth doing that. Setup is so there's some nice oh my Z shell configuration management thing. That also is kind of well maintained, gets frequent updates there, that I would recommend. So let's skip over that. I will share the slides after the talk here. Z shell is kind of strong with plugins. So what you can see here, there's some Git and some syntax highlighting. There's also for lots of other more complex tools like Kubernetes, like Docker. There's plugins that know enough of those shell commands that they can provide useful completion, useful help, and other support there. What you then do is you start with the .zshell.rc file. So that's mine. You point that to this git checkout from this oh my Z shell thing. You select the theme, a few other things here, some config bits. This is the most important, probably the plugins here. So you see there's some AWS, some Docker, some Emacs, and other bits. shrink path is kind of useful. You've probably seen that in, if you're watching people typing on shell commands. Right, and that's pretty bare bones. So let's jump into Z shell and see what it can do for us. So first of all, you can do those things without CD. So you can just type a path. You can do nice tab completion. Can do I think you can do that, but you can't. And you can abbreviate things, so it would then pick that one and cycle through that. So this is now the directory, changing directories bit. You can then put the next one here, again, cycle through that. Gives you some nice visual, and then you press return, and then you're there. What you see now is the Git plugin from Z shell with a branch here. The fact that it has this orange color is that it's not clean. So if we go and find something that is, oh yeah, this is also kind of nice. So you can do this. Let's find some branch that is hopefully clean. Yeah, you see the color is now a little bit greener. So that means there's nothing dirty in that. We can do this kind of 3 dots and then go 2 levels up, etc. Just saving a few keystrokes somehow, I don't know, at least makes me feel faster when I'm on a shell. Right. So what else is there to see? There's nice built-in help. So if you, for example, do this find and then the hyphen, and you're not quite sure what's available there, you can press tab and you get the full range of options there, at least those that Z shell knows about. As I said, those plugins are usually kept up to date quite nicely. And then again, you cycle through that, you select that again, then it knows the context, so it knows some stage you need a directory here. Again, you can do the same for Git. That's perhaps most illustrative. Log and then doesn't have that. Okay, it needs both because Git is a proper GNU compliant with a double dash here, and then it shows you the full list of Git log options. Yeah, kind of nice. Usually, again, keystroke saver because you can stay in that context you're in while trying to figure out what's possible next. What else is nice? Oh yeah, kill, and then you type the name of the program, and it completes that. That's also kind of cool. If there's more than one, in particular S office running there, you can also cycle through that. I have that not prepared, but yeah, that does work. What's also super nice is the so as I said, this abbreviation thing that works nicely. So then we can do this. Go here, and the shell history also works. You can cycle through that. So what I did was I typed make UI. No, I was so Control R for reverse search, and then you get this completion here. And that's the last command that you did, but I can, for example, I typed the first CPP, and then it would limit the search to that. And then I can cycle through that, or for UI test, there's a bit more in the history. I can go through that and edit that kind of. In particular, if you have, let's say, 10, 20 things, it would not be the immediate last one, or you could even in Bash, you have easy access to. There's nice globbing extras. So, for example, you can do this. You might know that from Java or Jenkins. This kind of double asterisk, which does some recursive search. Yes, well, it's a glob, so that's maybe a stupid idea to do that in the source tree. Let's do it here. Yeah, and then you get the full list. There's also extended regular expressions, so you can do things like this sort of character class thing, and then the repeat one or more of that is not the it's not, of course, not the asterisk, but this number thing. So we can have 2 of that, and it would then expand that, so that gives much more freedom for renaming or for finding things, excluding things. Negation is also possible. Right, so that was in all brevity. So the highlights that, of course, the prompt is nice. So the way you can configure the prompt is really quite useful in a very non-obtrusive way. Comes with nice defaults. Also the colors, the color themes. There's lots of work. Rather nice community where you can just take what others did already. Okay, next shell, unless there's something on Z shell from anyone here in the audience to add. Yeah, pkill. So there's this comment that there's, of course, pkill if you want to kill a process by name. Of course, that would then kill rather indiscriminately. So if you want a little bit more control what this is actually killing, and so why did I mention that? Because there's a lot of context knowledge inside those Z shell plugins. So depending on the shell command that you're using, there's lots of those hidden gems where useful completion happens that just speed things up just a tiny little bit, but across the board. So just wanted to point that out. Okay, then next one is the fish, the friendly interactive shell. Relatively young, not strictly POSIX compliant, and the focus is, and I do like that, is on interactivity and usability, and it's clearly copied a lot of things, it was inspired with lots of those nice Z shell things, and but puts that into nice default, so it comes nicely pre-configured out of the box. So if you want to have a nice new shell experience without spending a day or two configuring and searching through how-tos and just being completely overwhelmed by the choice, consider fish. That's the default prompt here. Again, you see this abbreviated path. You see, you can do similar things like just type the directory names. What's also, that's also, by the way, that's Z shell feature. If you mistype, you get this kind of, it's red. So if it's if it would succeed when you run it, it's green, and once it's mistyped, it's kind of red here, and the same is true here. So same kind of completion here. That's probably even slightly nicer, although it's very likely configurable in Z shell. But you see this kind of cycling through, then pressing return, and then you can do that again. So very nice interactive way to navigate. So let's go here. The Git prompt is also already here, so there's this, at least the branch is visible. Yeah, so that's what you get pretty much out of the box. Just install that from your favorite distro. Just works quite well. fish_config. Let me show that. And then it should be in some browser window. Let me find that. Oh yeah, here. Hope you can see that. So you can just whatever, change the scheme, set that. Let's see if it has changed. Yeah, it's not immediately visible, so you would then need to exit this. Here we are. So the prompt, yeah, lots of. So what's really nice is that how many presets are there, and the way it is presented. As I said, if you are short on time and want just to get some new shell experience, see whether you like that, go for fish. And if there's things that you really love, you might want to consider then moving on to Z shell by configuring it similarly. Just it's a bit more effort then. But of course, much more freedom and much larger set of plugins because it's such a large community doing that. Yeah, that's the history here. It's also kind of nice. Bindings can be configured also in some nice browser setup. So then let's, what did it say? I think there's some, how to get out of this. I believe it was telling me. Hit enter to stop. Aha, so let me hit enter then. Okay, and then I suspect if I restart it, I didn't save it properly. Okay, but yeah, in general, nice and configurable and much easier to run if you're a bit short on time to get some good results there. Good. That was the first half of that. We're, let's say, halfway through the hour. Anything from anyone to add? Any questions, any suggestions, anything obvious I missed? Okay, then let's get to Git. Just interrupt me, by the way. Let's get to Git then. That's, yeah, Miklos, sorry if there's something redundant here. We can probably go quickly through that. And if you say, well, we covered that, we just skip it. Or if conversely, somebody says, oh, yeah, that's interesting. Can we wait a moment and discuss that? And then please say, shout stop. Yeah, history, I don't have to tell you. So my personal setup is I keep one initial clone in a pristine shape and use that only for pushing. So that's this this push repo that has a full clone also of sub modules, but I mostly use that for getting objects in and out of Git. So what's then extremely useful is to use this Git work tree, because with a Git work tree, you share your Git objects. So whatever you commit in another tree, that object is visible in all the other shared checkouts or work trees, which then allows this workflow of cherry picking something and then pushing from here, or merging or mangling stuff here, and then when being able to, without having to revert to extracting patches. So that's kind of useful. Do read the how-to there. It's not a new feature, relatively new given the age of Git, but it's a killer feature for me. I don't think I have to tell you that. Maybe this co-authored by, I think it's a nice note if you work on something, and then of course you can only have one author in the as a primary author in Git. But if this is a collaboration, then do give the credit to others by this co-authored by. You can also add more than one line, of course, if this is a larger team of people working on that. A hint at the rather convoluted history of our project. So if anything is missing, so if you think, why was that file just added 3 years ago? That's odd. That looks like really old code. The reason for that might be that it got moved, and then Git is too stupid to find that. So this git log -- follow, then it tries a bit harder to detect renames and moves in history. For the full history, in particular, if you want to know the exact story there, why between 2000 and 2010, why something is the way it is, and there was just one large integration commit from some release engineer. This OO history repository is truly helpful because it contains the original branches still, so you can still see the individual fine-grained commits of the people who then reference some Bugzilla bug, or explain a little bit in a little bit more detail in that commit message what they were doing there. So for this source code archaeology, that's really nice. Submodules, I think I can spare you that. Just if you ever miss this, if you want to commit there and the change ID a hook is missing, here's the how-to, just to have that collected in one place. That's a bit redundant, but more details here. What you need to do, you need this git prompt. That should come as mostly comes these days as prepackaged with your Git for, I think, every distro that I can imagine. And then you find it on Stack Overflow. I think much better than here. Rebase Interactive, that's one of those Swiss Army knives, extremely versatile and useful. For editing commits, I use that I think on a daily basis almost. So you can reshuffle things. That really helps to enable a workflow where you commit a lot. Like you have something, you change something, you try something, you commit that. At the end of the day, you got like 20 commits. Of course, you can't push that. It's an absolute mess. But it's easy for you to backtrack. It's easy for you to do experiments, then go backwards and forwards in history. And then later on, you can clean it up without having to do manual patch editing. Yeah, it's mostly details. This is kind of useful as a source for a copy and paste. If you ever need that, search grep on all branches. If you're looking for some particular commit or some change ID, you want to know where this is backported to. Yeah, this grep thing here, and then do that overall branches. There's 2 versions of that. Also, basically just a steal from Stack Overflow, but as I said, might be useful to have that all in one place. Mass replace, that came in handy a few times for going over the source tree. Figuring out why something broke, either in the build or some other tools there, just run that in the loop. Bisecting, I think that's well documented. just for reference here. Merging and rebasing, surprisingly unintuitive here with the naming, in particular if you want to resolve conflicts by saying, I know that this other branch's version is the correct one, or my version is the correct one, then there's this checkout -- theirs and checkout -- ours. But the semantics are kind of flipped for merge and rebase, which always trips me over. Yeah. Releasing, I think that's kind of specific knowledge, but just to put it here. So what I did, I put some useful aliases in my Git config. And this is 2 years old. So how it looks today is actually quite a bit. So git diff these days. These days looks like that. Which is relatively new. So there's a plugin called Delta for Git that has this 2-column in particular. If you have a larger screen, kind of useful to do that. So this is obsolete if you use that. If you don't, then having this word diff is kind of useful. You see this highlight here, what actually changed in the in that line, which is sometimes hard to spot. Yeah, so I just found the name kind of nice. So this is a short log with a bit of extra information here. And this is for all branches. That's relatively messy for the core repository, but if you're working on smaller repos, that's kind of nice, because you see you get the branches here in a almost like Git tree-like fashion, but it's all in the shell and nicely colored as well. Yeah, reflog, one of those hidden gems again. So never be afraid of messing up with Git. Just always commit, git reset. Nothing can ever happen as long as you notice your mistake within the next week or 2. I think 2 weeks is the default for the garbage collection these days. Yeah. And then Git reflog is essentially all those dead things that are not the trash can that has not been taken out yet. So you can always go back to that and cherry pick things from there. So that's my history, what I did, and then there's always those hashes are always there. Sometimes it's not trivial to figure out where exactly is your change. So this is in terms like this. This is in time order. The most recent comes first. So if you notice your mistake early on, it's probably one of the first 1, 2, 3 from that list. And then you can, if you're on a branch, if you want to repair that branch, you just check out that hash there. If you want to get commit back, of course, then you cherry pick. Yeah, there's a comment on from Meven, from another productivity tool, git diff cached, right? So so that's what you have. If you have already added things, then you can see what that is, because otherwise you don't see that anymore because you've added it already. Yeah, from the chat, it's shortcut is to DS. Yeah, I agree. I tend to not use that, but occasionally, and then I forget how it was called, and so it's probably useful to add that. And some, if anything, then you can look into your Git config and see how the hell it was, the syntax was, and how you named it. Right, some nice queries here. So if you want to see what kind of magic you can do by mangling and setting Git output and using the pretty printer there, this is mostly just for reference. I think probably Miklos covered that last week with this how to, you will probably want to use Git review anyway. On the off chance you can't, you can do most of the Garrett interaction also by knowing the right name or the right remote to push to.
Yes, we covered the Garrett interaction a lot. None of the basics. So far, almost zero overlap, but we did cover the Garrett piece.
Okay, so one of those things that I use quite a lot is this export topmost patch. So this -1 is a little bit it's a little bit surprising that this actually works. Of course, you can also say -2 or -5, yeah. The other thing, clean up, mask, change the author. I had to, when I was changing jobs, I sometimes had to do that. This show a specific file in a given version. That is, I use that quite a lot when I'm on a branch and I want to compare a diff. This is this commitish colon and then the path. What's really nice is being able to do a git log with a mini blame, so you can see what happened in line 155 of any given file with this -L and then the range there, :file. That's truly useful. Some random links here from people who did nice stuff. Miklos, you did, but you covered that the last week, I guess. Those dev tools, Git help is that are truly useful. Yeah, so then perhaps this the most recent changes I did was Julia Evans had on her blog some collection of configs. This conflict style that's kind of useful is Git delta. You saw that earlier in this diff line, and so that is Git config. Make this a little bit larger here. So there's this delta plugin here with that setup that kind of works for me side by side, which is obviously this one. So you have this left and right. You have this wrap max line. So if the line is too long, you get this wrapping here. And there's a limit, so it's a maximum of 6 lines. That's a matter of taste, because then, of course, it kind of breaks the context a little bit if there's lots of, if it's not actually a line, but it's then 6 lines instead of 1. Line numbers are useful, I think. And yeah, the color theme, well, that's clearly a matter of taste. Right, then there is some aliases here. Yes, I should probably add this DS from Mevin, and those lol and lola, as you see here. If you want to, you can change the default branch to main. So if you create new repos, that would change that to the way GitHub does it. Also probably just a matter of taste whether you call it master or main, but yeah, I call it main. Right. And I guess that's it for the moment.
Okay, thank you, Thorsten, for the good talk. And yes, the same, please. I see you want to talk. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Thorsten, for the nice explanation and nice demo. Um, I have two questions. First is that when I look into some of the shell scripts that we have inside LibreOffice, most of them are optimized for Bash. So is something that, for example, you use these new shells as interactive tools alongside Bash, or uh, what do you recommend in that? And second question, I see very nice features inside these interactive shells, but I'm very interested in seeing some of these features inside LibreOffice. For example, in Python Interactive Console or elsewhere in LibreOffice. Do you think implementing something like this, for example, being able to autocomplete and things like that, is a huge task?
Okay, so let me address the first question first. That's relatively easy. So Z shell is just the interactive bits. So nothing at all breaks there with the assumption that or with the shell support that is kind of tailored for Bash. So I haven't. So of course, if there's any shell script that probably should not use any bashisms anyway, because that might break on other systems. But I think we're pretty good there removing that. Other than that, if it's running a batch, then it's running that in Bash, even if you call that from Z shell, so not or from Fish, so no problem. Yeah, as I said, there's no real impedance mismatch here. There's nothing that I would be aware of that would suddenly be broken if you use Z shell. And we would know by now because well, essentially everyone running OS X is using Z shell probably because it comes as a default there. And I guess also many of the Linux hackers probably have moved on. So I don't think that's a problem. When it comes to kind of taking inspirations from those shells and adding that to LibreOffice in various ways, I think that there's miles to go before we can even start bothering about color themes or anything else. For me, the most the deal breaker really is that the Python REPL, this read edit and interpret loop doesn't work for Windows. There's a number of plugins there with this how's that called? This ASO extension or something or the other that tries to do that. So being able, in particular for Python, to have dynamic. So what works on Linux to have a PyUno REPL interactive Python shell open, and I'm being able to have a variable, put the dot behind that, and press tab, and then get dynamic auto completion for all the attributes and all the methods that you can call on that UNO object. That's truly marvelous. Sadly, it doesn't work on Windows, where probably many of our even power users are, and so yeah, would be absolutely great to start that journey and improve that, and then maybe in a few years when everything else is done, then we can think about I don't know, stealing more ideas from Fish or from Z shell.
Okay, thank you. Evan, questions?
None, thanks.
Miklos, questions, tips?
just wanted to highlight that I really like you mentioned the interactive rebase and the reflog. In case those are new to some, then it's a very it is worth spending a bit of time on reading up on those and really save your seemingly lost work and so on. Thanks.
Yeah, right. So what I'm trying to conversely, what I'm trying to convey is that at least if you got someone on IRC where you can, if necessary, or on Telegram or on Matrix where you can whom you can ask for help. Never be afraid of anything in Git. So your data is safe 99% of the time.
Okay, thank you. Attila, questions?
No question.
Behram? Okay. Looks like Behram wrote something in chat. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so let me just read that out. I think it's useful. So the Z shell history is a separate file. It's obviously not the bash history. And that is perhaps worth backing up. And I can absolutely underline that. So if you don't have, well, you should be backing up anyway, your home directory. But if you're not, then that's one of the few things that has real value. Is in particular if you have if you set the history to some large amount, like 1,000 lines or something, because inevitably in a few months you will vaguely remember that you did something super great, but you can't quite piece it together, but it's in the history.
Okay. Thank you. Kellen, questions, tips?
No, nothing for me.
Darshan? Gogai? Jaume? Okay. Joe? Pedro, questions?
No, thanks for the presentation.
Thank you, Pedro. Shimon, questions? And I think last one, I have Vivek, questions?
No questions. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Thorsten. And I will see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.